interesting when multiple strategies can work out in that way. And interestingly, so B&K KRX have gone for second pick here. Both the matches they played last time, KWM DRX had first pick, so it's the same pick selection here. And the bans KWM DRX started the series out with were Poppy, Shen, and Olaf. So this time they're going Poppy Nocturne, changing up the strategy a bit. Whereas B&K KRX, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Orianna Casio was what they banned last time around.
And the Olaf blind pick has been countered a bunch of times. We have seen 2 games of Kled into it where it looked very strong as an answer. So I'm not sure about, you know, first picking it or even picking it early.
B&K KRX did ban Vi here in both games last time they played this matchup. And considering the Poppy Nocturne Jarvan ban does push the priority up a bit, are they going to take that out here as well? Or you could let it go. You could be comfortable playing like the Theory into it, and they instead go for that Camille ban. Are KWM DRX just going to slam jungle here? Or, you know, there's things like the Olaf open, the Jace open,
the Shen
carry picks, the Shen. There's a lot of power picks, but they have been very focused on jungle bans here, and they opt to pick up the Vi as a result. I think for B&K KRX, when we first saw Neferi come into the meta, it was as a Vi counter, and it's now at the point where the pick stands on its own, and we see teams just pick it. It's also good into Jarvan, for example, but I think for Raptor, it could make a lot of sense to pick it here. That being said, don't have to prioritize it right now. Instead, they're going to go for Ezreal, give Taeyun a good level of safety. Ezreal Bard is available, and an option here could go Ezreal Shen.
Yeah, seen a lot of Ezreal Shen and, you know, Ezreal Camille. Anything that can roam and just leave the Ezreal alone, because he is very self-sufficient. That's really kind of the idea that you want out of your AD carry nowadays.
I also think just having Ezreal Bard into Vi means she just loses so much value.
Yeah.
Very hard to get in the Ezreal, and if you do, you can Arcane Shift over terrain. Follow-up won't necessarily be there, and you get pulled in the enemy team. Bard can just stasis on top of the ult. So will they commit to that? I mean, the Shen, as you said, also a great pick. I think Kellen kind of spoiled for choice here. But we'll see if they leave support and they actually go for that Olaf pick. We've been seeing this rise up in priority, getting picked earlier and earlier in the draft. And right now, there's only the Vi that's been shown on the other side, but it just feels like limited answers. We saw the Kled start to come out as a response to it, and I'm wondering if Frog has something prepared here to go into the Olaf. And that also raises questions. Are you going to pick your bot lane here, knowing that you're up against the Ezreal, maybe something like Lucian Milio, or are you going to pick your solo lanes to match that Olaf? And it looks like they'll at least be picking the mid right now. So Rise comes through for Yukal. A pick he's very comfortable on. Did actually play this into B&K KRX in game 1 last time they met.
Jax is another answer. We've seen a decent amount into Olaf.
Yeah.
It is a little bit closer in terms of the matchup. You don't have Skarl to hop off of, but still can at least match the Olaf in the top lane and not get rolled over most of the time.
I also think mastery of Jax is something that so many more for LCK top laners have. There's been so many metas where Jax has been a dominant pick, and the expectation is that every LCK top will at least have a good amount of games. Kled is definitely more niche. Definitely, you have to practice it and be ready. So I think picking the Jax here makes sense, but that doesn't mean they don't respond to bot lane. I think getting the Rise, which is a great power pick in the mid, a lot of roaming potential in the Jax and the Olaf makes sense, but you're now allowing B&K KRX to take this Ezreal Karma, and they can start to ban away things they're potentially concerned about. They could end up banning things like, I mean, there's Jim Bard, there's Lucian Milio, there's Sivir, which can be good into these abilities, there's Nautilus, who's good into Karma specifically, and they'll start off by taking out the Nautilus. I think that's part of the reason KWM DRX felt pretty comfortable to leave it here, because there is a lot of bot lane options available.
Yeah. I mean, you have so many choices. You mentioned Kellen spoiled for choice, and he does go for a very Kellen pick in the Karma. Doesn't go for something a little bit proactive like a Shen or a Bard. But that just means that both Shen and Bard are available and could be options. Shen doesn't have the most fun time into Ezreal Karma, though, so a lot to consider here.
Are we just going to get 5 jungle bans from KRX DRX? I would probably go for the Neferi next if I was them, but that still leaves Lee Sin open and available. So, you know, 5 jungle bans and he still gets Lee Sin. Doesn't feel too phenomenal.
Yeah.
Or maybe they ban the Lee Sin and he gets Neferi. Either way, I think Raptor's comfortable, even if you throw all these bans at him. They do go for that Jin ban. It is the Lee Sin ban, not the Neferi. Will Raptor just grab the Neferi, or will they pick mid here and leave it till last, or go in a different direction? There's obviously also Xin Zhao available. And it looks like Xin Zhao Karma, a strong pairing, and it looks like they're leaning more towards that than the Neferi.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Just a more stable pick that can provide more of a front line for what already is the Ezreal Karma. Now we're thinking about a Kai'Sa here.
I think this is one of the things with banning 5 junglers in game 1, is by game 3, 4 junglers are taken out of the pool anyway, so junglers are much more used to being able to handle being target banned in this way. Xin Zhao's still a great pick. Looking at the Caitlyn Bard, an option here, and a pick where if they come out ahead in the 2v2, Caitlyn definitely Eamon could carry on that one. The range going to be useful. I will say if the Olaf gets on you, you're going to have a bad time. And now looking at Victor's pick, and he's just eyeing up the Syndra. I've seen Syndra often favored into the Rise, and the Scout of the Week has a lot of value here.
Yeah, feels pretty good. I mean, you could go for something like an Anivia. Not the Victor, though. We haven't been liking the Victor nowadays. I think Syndra's a good option. We've even seen it banned when teams pick the Rise just to get him out of that matchup.
I think a lot of this game hinges on those side lanes. Olaf and a Jax can be volatile if one of them gains momentum. If you look at BNK KRX, 3 auto attackers and then a Syndra, if Jax ends up fed, it's going to be tough to deal with him. And then on the other side, Olaf can kind of just run through this team. A lot of the CC tools to peel just won't apply. But also the bot lane. These bot lane combos are both intended to win lane, both intended to curve ahead. And if you end up losing lane on Caitlyn, it's going to feel pretty bad. If Ezreal falls behind the curve, then Caitlyn can get her crit items online, get to 3-4. So I think, for me, it's a lot about the side lane, how they lane, and also how the junglers and mid laners influence that.
Yeah, a lot of our matches recently have really come down to the execution from the teams, even more so than the draft. We've definitely seen some interesting picks, such as that Kled into Olaf. But not this time around, not in this best of 3, as we do see Jax.
I feel like a draft gap has to be humongous to get you all the way. You still got to play the game.
Yeah, still got to play the game. Very curious about this Jax from Frog. As we are ready, let's hop into the rift for game number 1. All right, game number 1 of this best of 3. And I was casting the Kespa Cup with Wolf this week. We did see a Jackson to Olaf, and it actually did fall pretty far behind and ended up not being a great response. But again, it felt like the matchup was very much skill-oriented rather than, okay, Jax is just a straight-up counter. Did go for the Ignite. We've been seeing a lot of different summoners in the top lane. Ignite, Exhaust, Ghost.
Yeah, interesting to see the Ignite versus Exhaust there. Obviously a lot of healing from Olaf, so Ignite making a good amount of sense. With Exhaust, I feel like it's so much about the timing. With Ignite, as long as you don't press it too late, you're getting value from it. Obviously you do want to reduce that healing, but Exhaust, if you mistime it, it could just be getting very little value. But it does mean both of these top laners will have the longer cooldown and teleport. So that resource is going to be a lot more valuable, especially as Yukal doesn't have teleport as well. With KRX, you have one super long cooldown teleport across the whole team, which is not ideal when you're trying to play through the side lanes.
Yeah.
Now, Taeyun and Kellen getting a big edge here in the bot lane 2v2. Ezreal Karma definitely really strong at level 1 and can continue that pressure at level 2.
That's a Mantra Q already. Eating forward into Ondil. He's going to take a ton of damage from Taeyun and Kellen. And yeah, I like how Kellen just dropped a shield on a Taeyun and said, okay, go ahead and trade with aiming. Just auto him. And we know Ezreal for mostly, you know, hitting some big Qs and arcane shifting forward and making big plays and skill shots, but when you don't necessarily have the sustain, but you have the shielding, you can just drop a shield and take a good trade.
We've seen the lethal tempo Ezreal be really popular recently, and when you have your spell flux fully stacked, You have Doran's bow. You have the lethal tempo stacked. Just the consistent auto damage is super high. It's like you land the Mystic Shot, and obviously it refreshes those, and it's the extra damage is great, but just autoing a target, it does so much damage in the early levels, and it's made Ezreal really difficult to shut down, to match into.
Yeah. Especially because a lot of the times he's just alone, and not a lot of lanes can punish that unless they are very, very bot-focused, like a Lucian Melia or something. We do see that Clear already has 3 games of Olaf under his belt to 3 wins, which honestly is a lot more than I expected him to have already. Raptors here in the bottom lane. He's going to get the flash out of Andil, so that's no summoners now on the KRX support.
Just found a good window to move down bot, get that pressure down. Andil down flash, and having to reset already. Look at the wave as well. This is a terrible situation for aiming. Going to be zoned off this farm, and bot lane quickly spiraling out of control for KRX. Aiming going for the cull as well. I mean, it's cull versus tier, so it's not really the end of the world, but definitely the mindset of KRX this early in the game is just, okay, we need a control bot, just stabilize it, not fall further behind than we already are.
Yeah. That's why it's so important, especially this early on, to take note of where the junglers are, where the supports are going. We saw Andil, after not having a good time in bot lane, he went mid at level 2, and you know, that kind of just left aiming on an island until Andil did get it back and came down here. And still, even with him here, it's not doing a whole lot, so yeah, it's been rough. And also a good game from Raptor compared to Willer, who's just been kind of farming it out.
And there's now a significant XP advantage. Both Taeyun and Kellen are like a full level up, and yes, there's some extra minions for KRX, but not enough to make up that big of a difference. Kellen just at level 4, Taeyun's nearly level 5. And those levels really matter, especially when you're playing Ezreal Karma, who you're maxing your Q first on both of them, getting that extra damage.
Vikla is just going to find 2 people in the jungle. Scout of the Week's going to help, but with the Ghost, Vikla is just dead, as he's going to get autoed down by a Rise. Not the place to be as a Syndra. He's going into the turret, doesn't care, as he drops the W in the auto, and that picks up the kill. But now we got Willer and Ducal down here. Raptor trying to help out his bottom lane, but got to be very careful about how they're going to go for this one. A lot of go pings as they go in onto Kellen, and Taeyun doesn't have his flash or his barrier anymore, so he will be the sacrifice, and aiming gets the kill.
Big that aiming got that kill there. A bit of recuperation for the bot lane after Taeyun and Kellen were kind of just styling on them. Committed a bit too heavily, and KRX doing a good job of moving down and punishing that dive onto Andil. Now, Vikla will get a plate and get to push this wave in the meantime, but overall, I think KRX doing a good job of responding there.
Yeah, just a fast rotation down. We see that in the top lane early on, the Olaf not having a very fun time. Obviously, once he gets Ragnarok and go for all-ins against Counter-Strike, he will have more fun, but they don't have TPs. So if you fall behind like this, it's very difficult to actually maintain lane presence if you're just not there and you have to walk all the way back. So he's just kind of hugging his turret, which means big priority to the side of Frog, as Raptor is going to get the Hextech Drake here for the side of KRX.
Hextech, and then we see it's Infernal next. So I feel like at this point, kind of 50-50 whether you get a powerful soul or not. Although, to be fair, Ocean, Chemtech, pretty good with some of these champs. Can't complain too much. Oh, they're looking for Kellen now. Rise is moving. Kellen is just dead.
Yeah, he's dead. He was playing very aggressively there. And, yeah, against the Rise and the Bard, with the stun coming in, he's just going to go down. So, yeah, a very big positioning mistake leads to his doom.
Fortunately, aiming doesn't quite have the level 6, otherwise I'm certain he would have ulted to take that kill in the end. But kind of showing how the control of mid-jungle from Ducal and Willer has started to clamp down on Taeyun and Kellen, who are doing well in the 2v2. Oh,
there you go. The exhaust's going to come in, and the Ragnarok is there, but it's still going to be the end of him as he gets stunned at the end. And with the Ignite, it's an easy kill for Frog.
Great play there from Frog. Both of them committing everything to the play. But Clay just not able to get the damage down in time. Had to retreat, and on Olaf running away feels so bad. You're not keeping your ult up. You're not axing and then chasing through. He is definitely a win more champion, and he did not win that play.
Yeah. I think once you commit there, you kind of just have to go down swinging, because as you said, you don't really gain much value by just running. But kind of found himself in an awkward spot, felt forced to take the all-in and didn't like what he saw, so he's going to die anyway.
Yeah, and I believe Frog also already had the passive stacked up on the minions when he jumped in, so really using the minion wave well there to get the maximum amount of damage, having all that extra attack speed, and Clear just caught off guard.
Raptors standing on a ward right now. We do have UCal once again heading down to the bottom side of the map. And
good heal.
Yeah, good heal gets him away. UCal could have technically tried to like flash and root and set up a play, but they do not go for it. Willer was going for the grubs. UCal's just going to realm warp to mid because he doesn't want to deal with any shenanigans. Very smart from him.
He's been playing this so well, and I think a big factor is that he's finding windows to move consistently. He didn't overstep there and force a flash when he knew Raptor was behind him and his jungler was on the other side of the map. And then he realm moves back safely and is keeping even in farm. UCal is kind of just doing everything right now to get KRX into this favorable position. It's really him controlling the bot side of the map, and then Frog just winning in the 1v1. Solo lane's coming up huge right now for KRX.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Olafs from behind look very sad. It kind of reminds you of, you know, in the past we used to have a decent amount of Olaf jungle where, you know, you would farm it out, you'd be very fast farming, but you didn't do a whole lot if you got behind, so you were kind of just running in and then running out and didn't have a big impact. You didn't have as much CC as the other junglers in the meta, so we didn't see it a lot. And when Olaf came back here in the top lane, it was like, well, he's just winning every matchup, so he looks amazing. But now that he's losing some of these lane matchups, it just feels not nearly as good. And he's doing a lot of running in and running out, or just running in and dying.
Also, Frog nearly has his Ignite, by the way, because Ignite is shorter cooldown than Exhaust. Ignite's 3 minutes, Exhaust is 4. So the fact that they traded all summons at the same time, Frog is going to have that extra boost back sooner. And at the health Clear was at, I'm a little concerned a dive could just come through. Now Raptor's going to move in and provide cover, but there was a ward you can see at his Krugs, so he's spotted. It's not just the fact that Frog is controlling the 1v1, but the vision means he's completely safe, and Raptor can't really find a way in.
Yeah, feels bad for Raptor because he's trying to put out fires everywhere, but there's only so much he could do. He got the flash on the Bard early, and since then, you know, he took a red buff. But it's not necessarily his fault. You know, playing jungle when all your lanes are in a rough spot is a very unfortunate feeling. And he does have to deal with that. On a champ like Xin Zhao, who...
Also, Xin Zhao, I mean, I remember we used to see occasionally, it was pretty rarely, but... Because Trundle was a normal counter to Xin Zhao, but sometimes people would pick Jax jungle into it. If you go in on a Jax in the top lane, the vibe of both of these champions is auto-attacking. He will just counter-strike.
Yeah.
It will buy a lot of time. There is a Ryze who's Pim or roaming. I would be a little concerned of the backfire that could potentially come through.
Yeah. You see that Taeyun, things started off well in bot, but now he's actually behind a very small amount of gold. He's probably going to catch up on that wave, actually, but all the attention from UCal and some of the mistakes from Kellen just means that whatever happened early doesn't matter.
I think, honestly, if KRX had their solo lanes ahead only, and bot lane was a bit behind, I think the game would still be in an okay state. But the fact that UCal's able to salvage bot, and now every lane is ahead, even if it's only, as you said, a slight amount for aiming, they're just in such a great spot right now. You can see KRX trying to move down here to pressure, aiming, but aiming is just hitting, getting plates. He has to back up now as the wave dies, but 3 plates down. Actually, I think it's 2 and nearly like a sliver of health remaining, but it just means that aiming can walk up and pick up another plate. And I think KRX are trying to stop that from happening.
Yeah, you can see 4 people on the bottom side of the map. And UCal's like, well, I'm just going to push this wave, I guess. I can always be there very quickly.
Okay, well, that plate did tick down, so aiming missed out on that gold, which is something, but doesn't drastically change the state of the game.
There's not a lot of vision in this river. UCal does have to be a little bit careful about that, as all the vision is controlled by KRX, but especially with Scatter down, unless the Xin Zhao comes in and knocks you up for the CC, you're going to feel just fine.
Just the fact Yukal can walk up, auto the turret, get the plate, and then walk away. Vikla just not really having much pressure in this matchup, and given that Yukal is ahead, has the upgraded Merc Treads, Catalyst as well, and you have Blackfire Torch, which I know is a standard Syndra build, but you're not cutting through him at all. You're just not going to be able to kill him in any short period of time.
Yeah, it just feels really rough that the Syndra counter pick, the final pick for them, is really not doing much at all. As we are going to have the straight going down in favor of Team DRX. BNK FRX were hanging around the bottom river for quite a while. They had vision control. Now it's actually all over to Team DRX, as it is an Ocean Soul that we do have here.
Ocean Soul, not the soul we hype up the most, but I think with some of these champions, you're going to get a decent amount of value. Bulkier champions, you can survive a good amount of time in fights, like that Olaf, that Jax, even the Bruiser junglers and the Ryze. But it's one dragon apiece, and I think for BNK FRX, it being an Ocean Soul, the fact that it's not really on the cards for a while, does give them some time to try and figure things out. That being said, I don't think time necessarily favors them in terms of what they're playing into.
Well, Mantricu's going to sail wide, and now Kellen's going to get ulted. He tries to flash away, but that is a Vi and a Rise and aiming on the Caitlyn, so the follow-up was very much there. Raptor desperately trying to save his support multiple times this game. Not going to help out. Andal just get pretty low and avoids the scatter there. So they get away scot-free.
Good play from Taeyu, and honestly, nearly set up the play, but Vikla just doesn't land the ability in the end. That could have taken Andal down. Team DRX just playing so much better than the first time we saw these teams match up. Well, not the first time, but the time we saw 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And here, Kellen's been spotted already. There's that line brush ward. So he's ahead of the vision line of KOM DRX. They go for this pick. Even with the flash, we see Willa being patient with the ult. And I was actually a little worried when Raptor went in that maybe he ends up falling down as well. But KOM DRX don't overstay the hands, don't overstep, back away. And Taeyun hit the Mystic Shot through the Magical Journey and got Andal really low, but the Scatter of the Week just didn't connect. And he's not going to Arcane Shift under tower to kill him. That'd be a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of did that earlier in bot lane. Just took the Magical Journey. As now they're trying to do this Rift Heralds. I don't know about this, as the flash and the binding is huge. Now Raptor, no Crescent Guard still, and Frog is like a raid boss, just comes in and smacks them down. 2 kills already for KOM DRX, as now the Olaf finally going to get some value here, but eventually should be going down, you'd imagine, as the Counter-Strike is there, and it's just a wash here in favor of KOM DRX.
Just not sure what the game plan really was there from BNK FRX. Like, let's just start Herald and hope that they forget it exists and they don't come challenge us.
I think that was the game plan.
Well, it's not a good game plan. KOM DRX obviously respond and shut them down. They managed to move in here, and Raptor and Kellen are pretty split. We actually see Taeyun in the mid lane, nowhere near them. So they don't have the backup that AD carry. We get the first move here from the Caitlyn. Clear is also quite late with the TP, and even though he gets this kill on the back end, doesn't really amount to more. He tries to chase down aiming here, doesn't have the damage. And Taeyun just wasn't in the fight, period. Like, I feel like if you want to do an objective like that, having the Ezreal be there, landing some poke, and being a presence is kind of a requirement. This just felt like they were starting the objective on a whim, and KOM DRX were really quick to punish and move in response.
Yeah, definitely felt pretty desperate for this point in the game. Like, yes, they're behind, but it felt like a bridge too far, because now you're even farther behind if that doesn't go your way, which obviously it didn't. And now, I mean, Vikla's trying to lean against a Jax.
Yeah.
He has Scout of the Week, which can get him away once, but what about if Bard is here? You have Raptor coming back down, but I think you should not. And yeah, he's going to turn around. So that's an extra bunch of golds here for
I don't think
them.
Scatter the Week is really cutting it. I think you need Scatter the Powerful more than Scatter the Weak, because Frog seems pretty fed right now.
I mean, look at the carries. KOM DRX. As Yukal is going to find an Olaf, but Ryze has a very fun time.
This is why it's so chill. Yeah, having the Ryze and the Olaf, because he just realm orbs away and there's nothing the Olaf can do if you can't kill him in time, which is just never going to happen with how bulky he is. putting pressure down mid with the Rift Herald. Taeyun doing his best to clear out the wave, but the Herald will get the tower. 5,000 gold lead already in this game. You have a Rise 403 scaling up very well. You have Aiming, who's 1,000 gold up on a Caitlyn, who's going to have an IE completed in not too much time. And obviously there's Jax as well. If you look at where the kills are, all three of the carries. So the game is in a phenomenal position. And I think a game like this starts to become really concerning because if all the gold was on one person, that person can make a mistake. And that can cost you the game if they overstep, give over a massive shutdown, and then BNK KRX win a fight of that. But when there's 3 fed carries, it takes layered mistakes to throw a game like this. More than just one individual blunder. That's not to say it's impossible, but it is not looking good for BNK KRX right now.
They're going to hide on Bush for a very long time. Frog, he tried to check all the boxes. We'll see if he can get out of this one as he doesn't have his flash and is now just in a 1v3, and he's almost going to take down Raptor, who gets super low. And thankfully, the Karma's going to help out with that, but Kellen got the kill.
Yeah, unfortunate. Kellen the one to pick up the gold. I think the play, in theory, is really good, but the two things is, one, the Karma getting the gold isn't ideal. You'd much rather, I mean, ideally the Olaf getting that gold. But the other thing is how much damage this Jax did and how close that was to backfiring in a 3v1. That's not a good omen. They get the tower as well, though. That's some good gold for the Olaf. And that gold lead closing down a little bit.
Yeah. Ragnarok is down, and Andal's very fast. He's going to run straight in a clear, who has no mana. And it's a really nice close-range ult just thrown in. He does miss the binding stun, but it just doesn't matter. I mean, you're an Olaf who doesn't have an ult and no mana, so eventually Aiming just going to kill him, as he does. And now we got a fight in mid as Taeyun totally caught out here. I don't know what it is with our Ezreal's getting caught in mid, but it's been happening every match nowadays. And same for Taeyun.
The fact that KRX can commit 2 members to the top lane for quite a sizable amount of time, though it's not a quick play, and yet they still make a successful play in the mid lane, still manage to pick Taeyun. Things kind of just going from bad to worse. Even at that one successful play we saw where they managed to shut down the Jax, it ends up backfiring. The Realm War play from Yukal as he's running by, just setting up Frog to be on the flank. Honestly, a really nice play. And BNK KRX, seeing that their Olaf was being targeted, but like, we should get mid tower. This is a good window. But I think it's just credit to KRX how quick they're able to set up a counterplay.
Yeah, I mean, even if all 4 people of BNK KRX were there, the 3 members of Kium were potentially even stronger, even if they were super ready for a play like that, which they weren't. So, not really much they could do, or maybe they just they should not have gone that aggressively in mid, as we know now. And Yukal, no real answer for him in the top lane. There's nothing that Vikla can do. The Olaf, we saw what happens to him if he tries to go on the rise. And yeah, BNK KRX are just kind of like, I hope Taeyun can carry this. Otherwise, we lose.
Yeah, he does have his Mur mana fully stacked now, which is typically when the Ezreal feels super strong. And there's a big spike, but I feel like we're on the cusp of KRX hitting like critical mass. We just got 2 items on the Jax with the Triforce and the Sundered Sky. He could go a Seeker's Arm Guard now, which just makes him so hard to deal with. We have Yukal about to get the Actualizer, not too far away from it, not too far away from level 16 as well, with the level up from the Roa, and then Aiming approaching throughout him. So I feel like KRX already really far ahead, but they're about to hit some massive spikes. And I'm not sure BNK KRX really have great answers on their side.
Yeah. You can see BNK KRX just moving as a unit and trying to retake their jungle. There's no objective down there, so just trying to get some wards down and not lose total control of the map. But that's really about all they can do at this point in time. As they have thrown Vikla up there to the top lane just to essentially clear the wave. As he went for Storm Surge.
Yeah, interesting one.
I don't think that... I mean, I guess he's saying either we one-shot someone or I do nothing.
I mean, the Magic Pen... Oh.
All right, that's a binding, and there's a big scatter from Vikla, as now a bunch of damage goes into Willer. is going to go golden with the help of the Bard, and now they have to go very deep to take him down, but now a TP's coming in. Frog going to be very scary, but another scatter's going to hit him, and now Clear, you get to work on him. That's a kill on a UCal. And all of a sudden, just like this, KRX out of position, and the Cinder comes up big as Frog trying to go 1v5. It does not work, and KRX are potentially back in the game.
A massive misplay there. Oh, the ult! Well,
it's
good
okay.
pick up there from Aiming.
Did his job. It's okay.
He did do his job. Massive play there coming from KRX, and able to get them back to the game and get them this Baron. There'll still be a bit of a goal lead for KRX, but what a blow to be dealt here to KRX. And look, we see the Actualizer come in just now. That massive spike wasn't quite available, and I think KRX pouncing on that. Vikla scatter here does a good amount of damage. And the thing is, the Storm Surge angle, it's a very cheap item that is pretty well statted. I know the proc effect only works to squish your targets, typically, but he hit 2 of the squish your targets and got a ton of value. And then here, Aiming's just not able to contribute in this fight. He's completely cut off the whole time, has to respect the Olaf. And then they just charge down Frog here. Aiming doesn't die, he keeps his bounty gold safe, and he picks up a kill on the back end. You can't really fault him. But just it was such a split-up play from KRX and from KRX, and KRX did a beautiful job of punishing.
Yeah, Raptor was clearing a ward by himself. It looked like it was just him. And the second they try to go in and punish him, which is kind of a strange idea in the first place because of Xinjiao, they just line up for the Syndra. As now, that's a bit of damage in a Raptor. KRX do have the Baron buff. So after all of this early game where it looked so desperate for them, they have this big buff. They are going to give away the Ocean Drake.
I think it's the right call.
They just don't care.
A good move just to sacrifice it. They don't have Ocean Soul yet, and it is still one of the weakest souls. It's not a game ender if they get it. So they back away.
All right, Sky the Weak is down, and now Raptor might be forced to Crescent Guard just to try to get away from this one. Frog not able to pressure Clear on the right side of the fight. And they're continuing with the push. I mean, there's KRX not willing to step up and defend this turret at least.
Now, I said earlier, it's going to take like layered mistakes from KRX. They made one big mistake, and I feel like KRX have just really been sharp with how they've regained control. It's still KRX with a goal lead. Game is very much still playable for KRX, but man, has the tides of the game shifted a sizable amount. Now, UCal did hit that level 16 and has the Actualizer. Aiming did finish his 3rd item. Frog, I think, should have enough. Yeah, he has a Seeker's Arm Guard. So these are some big item spikes for KRX that need to be respected. But KRX, their odds in this game look far better than they have for the rest of it. Now, they are looking for Vikla here. He is just dead if UCal gets on him. If he scatters the wave, it's cooked.
Yeah, that's what UCal's waiting for. Credit to Vikla, he's not going to do it.
Okay, just good from Vikla. Don't scatter the wave if you don't need to. Don't rush the wave clear but not have your biggest tool. And the thing is, the reason why it's such a limiting factor, even though UCal could probably just 1v1 Vikla, is the stun could just buy time. And KRX had more members in that area. I think UCal would have wanted to go for a quick kill and then try and disengage. But he doesn't find the window. Vikla stays alive. Now has that Shadow Flame as well. A ton of Magic Pen, by the way, in this build. Between the flat pen of the Shadow Flame, the Storm Surge, and the Sorcerers, the upgraded Sorcerers. You really can just one-shot squish your champions. And to be honest, even the tankier champions don't have that much MR. It's just like Merc Treads on the enemy team.
Yeah. Especially because Vikla was really not a factor in this game until that big scatter and that one big fight. You know, they probably weren't preparing or expecting this to be a problem or an issue that they had to deal with.
Most teams don't plan to throw the game. Which, you know, it happens a lot, but it's probably not something you want to plan around. That being said, maybe some teams need to be more aware of the possibility.
Yeah, we need MR just in case we give a bunch of gold to Vikla and catch up.
Sometimes it's always good to have that voice who just says, guys, are we throwing right now? And if it's a really fast play, sometimes there's not time. But sometimes you're doing something, like you're starting a Baron, it's like, guys, is this the only way we lose this game?
Yeah.
And sometimes it is, and you just need to take a step back.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because, you know, you're playing Bard, you're playing Vi, and you see only a Xin Zhao in the bush. You're not really going to expect to die to that, you know? They were just walking at him saying, okay, let's pressure him off the ward. But the Scout of the Week and the Syndra in general just have so much range with their ability to extend that stun from out of vision, from a spot that they thought they had covered.
It's also, if you're coming at the Syndra from one direction,
yeah.
It's so hard to deal with. Whereas if you're coming from multiple angles, I think both the Syndra and Ezreal just lose so much value. So, and you have a Jax with the Seek's Arm Guard and a Ryze with the Seek's Arm Guard. You can afford to position them on flanks and come from a more dangerous angle because they have so much sort of ability to buy time. I mean, speaking of buying time, Yukal with the... I know we see this build all the time, but it's just still crazy. The fact that Actualizer boosts the shield and Ryze just gets like a humongous shield when it gets procced. Pretty disgusting synergy between that champion and item. We do have the 4th item for aiming with that Mortal Reminder. KRX are really strong still. Honestly, in a straight-up 5v5, I would favor them.
Oh, the flash is huge, but now Taehoon trying to get away, but they're just throwing everything into him. He flashes, but he's still going to go down as Kellen getting flashed on by the aiming goes straight into the Olaf, but it does not matter. KRX, you just said it, they're still really strong, and they run straight up BNK, and they take a big 3 kills. Now the chase is still on here as the magical journey comes through from Ondil. And they're trying to corral them to the top side of the map. In goes Raptor over the wall. Here comes Frog. Hits the double. And now Vikla is in a lot of trouble. Throws in a ult and just dies as they have a wave in mid, but they're just going to look for the Baron.
Seeker's Arm Guard is honestly just so strong and so annoying for a Syndra to deal with. You can see Vikla was like considering, who do I ult? Who do I ult? I want at least 1 kill here. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to get either of them in that situation. This was just a great play. And honestly, a big aspect of it was set up by aiming, dashing in, getting that headshot. Taehoon now low, Andal with the follow-up, and even though the Mikhails comes in, Taehoon's just dead. Yes, he'll flash, but the job is done. We then get the Tempered Fate, which stalls out Raptor's ult, so he's getting no value from that. Andal's Bard was something we talked about for a while as being a big threat. We saw teams banning it a fair bit, but he has been in such phenomenal form this game, with setting up plays with the ult, with that entire passage of play. And then here, this is when it just feels bad for Vikla. He's like, okay, we'll go for Yukal. Okay, Stasis. Okay, I'll go for Frog. Stun ends, but he has Stasis too. And then he's like, I guess I'll just ult Yukal, but Yukal's too tanky. There's no good choices, really, in that situation. Unfortunately for him.
Yeah. You talked about coming in from multiple angles. We saw that Frog jumped over the wall. And we are going to have an ult here. Not going to get in range to drop a trap or dive the turret. But.
Yeah, you know, still going to miss. But generally, Andal's been having some solid ones.
It's only strike 1, right?
True. I mean, he did still hit a target, but just not in range to set up a play. Clear is getting some value here in the side lane, but we actually see pings behind him. I think maybe the game plan was to realm warp behind if he overstayed, but he does back off in time. I think considering how badly the game started and how badly BNK KRX got decimated in that last fight, they have done good things in terms of their map play and where they're putting resources and that comeback fight. But it just feels like they're against overwhelming odds right now. Ocean Soul as well, as things been difficult enough. Those Seeker's Arm Guards that were both used are now Zonya's. A GA is coming in soon for both aiming and Willa. You have Mikhails and Locket for Bard, and as a result, with the dire state of the game, they're like, let's just stack in the brush. And honestly, I don't blame them, because that kind of won them that previous fight. But Andal, he learned. He's sharp on that position, understands it's a threat. Now, Willa will get chunked.
What about Willer, though? he's getting chunked big time, and now Frog says, I can just dive everyone, and it doesn't matter. And I think he's right. No Crescent Guard available. Vikla just going to get stunned up here by the Bard. As a nice scatter does come in, he can press some buttons, but he's just going to die anyway. And that's all the carries gone. Oh. And even an ult into Ellen will end him. So this might just be the end of the game as well as KRX. A little bit of a shaky mid-game, but they got through it. It looks like they'll win this game.
One mistake wasn't enough to get BNK KRX back into a winning position. KRX, sharp play, and just leagues better than the last time we saw these two teams match up, which was only 4 days ago. I think KRX just doing fantastic work with their time. It is only game one. It's only game one, but remember last series was a 2-0. KRX didn't get a game then, and honestly looked significantly more underwhelming than they did in this one. So it's a big glow up, and if you're BNK KRX right now, I'd be a little bit worried because it's clear that time has very heavily favored your opponents.
Yeah, it definitely has great prep from the side of KRX. It was very nice to see Frog just absolutely taking over the top lane on the Jax. Just really nicely played from him. Very little mistakes made by the entire team outside of the big one. That just essentially extended the game, and they immediately cleared that up with a follow-up very nice play into Baron. So Vikla did some damage at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, everyone was playing pretty well on KRX, but Andal just, I think Andal and Yukal's early map control, I mean, I say that, Frog too. Frog was great in lane, Yukal's map control was great, Andal just setting up so many plays. It's a good game when there's multiple people you want to praise, and I'm just hoping they maintain this for game 2.
We'll have to wait and see as it's 1-0 to KRX, and we'll be right back.
탑 가는 거 별로야. 내가 밀어자고. 여기 뚫고 갈게.
와봐 이거.
에이 대기방 신드라 여기 있다.
아 밀게.
탑 밀어도 돼.
천천히 보자. 천천히 들려보자. 천천히.
야 나 구도네.
천천히 진입 좋아 얘들아.
밀면서 탑 가면 돼. 우리 목적 탑이야.
와드 여기 와드.
애도 있다.
야 갑니다. 얘들아 여기 와드야.
확인.
어나 군대고.
나 살짝
그런 거
물었어.
살짝 봐줄게.
아나 직구 써볼게. 가보자.
야 짜오부터.
아 놀면 신드라
짜오.
붙었어. 야 디테일 앞으로 와. 야 신드라 볼게.
쓴다. 야 짜오.
앞으로 가자 앞으로.
끝났어.
끝내자. 나이스.
Out. It's just some questionable decisions around that Herald, but I still think there was good from BNK KRX. There was the play they got back in the game with. I think some of their map play and where they were putting resources made sense, even though there were definitely moments that didn't make sense. But I still think very much capable of bouncing back in this one. Now, KRX last time said we're going to ban every single jungler we can. This time it's AD carries, apparently. So they are first pick again. 4 games in a row between these two teams where KRX has been first pick. So getting a little bit used to that. Notably though, BNK KRX for the first time banning Cassio first when they normally ban it second. Okay, they just baited me because they normally go Ori Cassio. Yeah. This time, wait for it, they went Cassio Ori.
Cassio Oriana.
Yeah, very crazy.
It kind of goes together. And I like the 2 AD carries that are banned here by KRX from first pick because both Lucian and Jhin have pretty solid duos that you can just pick 1-2 from second pick, like Lucian Emilio, Jhin Shen. That is still available. Camille is going to get banned, so perhaps those Shen stocks go up. But we saw it ignored in the last game. And Nocturne got through, so...
Yep, left open will be snapped up by
Poppy too.
KRX. Poppy also available. Playable support or jungle. We'll see if KRX lean toward that. For now, though, potentially looking at the Annie for Vikla. And you know, Annie's always been a bit of a specialty pick for him. I know obviously it's been popular in general, but back when KRX was succeeding last year, it was a lot of his Annie, but instead, seems like they'll just go for the Yunara. I guess Yunara Lulu is going to come through, because you don't want to give over Nocturne Lulu.
Yeah.
And I think they were maybe concerned about that trio, that pairing coming through, especially with aiming, piloting the Yunara. Got that pentakill earlier this year, and very proficient in the champion. Now, though, KRX, they banned bot laners heavily. What are you going to pick into this pairing to shut it down?
Yeah, they didn't ban all of the available duos. And yeah, maybe just pick the top side of the map here.
Yeah, it's risky because it gives you less ability to match the bot lane 2v2. Yeah. More bans going to come down through that, and they don't fully commit to it. They go, okay, we'll get the Rumble for Frog, but we want the Nautilus, we want an answer. And when Yunara was really fresh into the meta when she just been released, Vi and Nautilus were the two big picks that you would want to Intuit, or people would be banning when they picked it. So I think getting this for Andal makes a lot of sense here, meaning you definitely have an answer. And when you look at KRX, have this hyper carry and aiming, and they just further lean into that with the Cassante, because your eggs are very much in the aiming basket right now. And the enemy team has Nautilus, Taeyun basket.
Yeah.
Taeyun basket. Because they both have X at the end of the name. Eggs are very much the Taeyun basket, and there's too many, you know what? There's too many 80 carry swaps have happened. That's what I'm blaming this on. But there's the Nautilus, the Rumble, and the Nocturne to really shut Taeyun down. And they're going to ban away some of these lane bullies with the MF being taken away.
Yeah, MF not a very common bot duo. So, I mean, we've seen other ones like Kai'Sa not. I don't know if you really want to play Kai'Sa with Nautilus into Yunara and Lulu. Sounds like a really rough bottom lane, so gonna be curious to see what they do go for. Maybe something like a Sivir. Kind of running out of options here as Varus also gets banned.
Yeah, I was thinking Varus could be decent in terms of the 80 carries left that can pair up with a Nautilus. You could just take Corki, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the pool's definitely be thin. They got about. They do ban away that Annie. I wouldn't be in love with Annie with this composition for KRX. You have a tank top laner, you have this hyper carry, 80 carry, and so many tools to shut down Taeyun, who's on KRX.
Yes.
Yes.
Not Diablo.
Not Diablo. Not aiming.
Not aiming.
Not Jiwoo. And so having a secondary carry is going to be really important for KRX. They're going to go for the Lee Sin here for Raptor. It really is feeling like Taeyun a bust right now.
Yeah.
Taeyun 80 carry for KRX.
There's a lot of smiling from Raptor. I'm not really sure why, but he does get to play Lee Sin. So maybe he's just happy about it. And yeah, we were talking about the stuff that's left.
Whoa!
Draven is left, technically.
He is the Gold King, but I think Corki a lot more likely. And then mid lane, this kind of feels like the sort of slot where people just slam Victor. But we've seen Victor struggling a good amount. Goes for the lock instead, and this just further cements. How is Taeyun going to survive and also deal enough damage to cut through everyone who's just charging him?
Yeah, I mean, as long as they don't get hooked in bot, they should be okay, but there's definitely a decent amount of threat there. Do we just see Galio now?
Lissandra, oh.
It's kind of a similar vein.
It kind of fills the role of Annie, where it pairs up well with the Lee Sin. You have the setup, but you are not going to be a major damage threat. This game, and there are tools. Look, don't get me wrong, there are tools from KRX to peel between the Cassante, the Lee Sin, the Lissandra. But if Taeyun dies, it's just over. It's going to be so hard to fight your way out of that if you're at an even game state. If you're ahead, great. If you manage to find early momentum, great. If Vikla can roam, fantastic. But I think if the game is even, all KRX have to do is click all of their ultimates onto Taeyun, and that'll probably be enough.
Yeah.
Taeyun, who's on the other team, not on that team.
Yeah. I'm glad you finally figured it out. I mean, one thing I will say is that you've got double range bot with the Enchanter and you have Lee Sin against a Nocturne, so there are ways to get ahead, right? You were talking about how they kind of have to get ahead, and I think there are, okay, that Fox is very sad. I'm not sure about continuing to hit it, but
that's pretty mean.
Yeah. There are ways to get ahead, and I am curious to see how they're going to manage it. If they sit back and do nothing, I will be very upset, because then you just kind of lose to all of this damage. And yeah, we'll see if KRX can top it off with a 2-0, or if we go into a game number 3 as we hop on the rift for game 2.
미니언들이 산성되었습니다.
All right, game number 2 on the cards.
Notice that they gave the gold from that first ward. Aiming. They're beginning to understand.
Yeah. There is a reason why every team that aiming's on eventually just kind of, you know, gives him all the gold. Even when you've got guys like BDD in your roster.
Aiming going for the TP here. So clearly not looking to play heavily through the bot lane 2v2. At least not at first. And I think with a Corki, who obviously has a lot of safety built into the kit, TP means you can't really be shoved out of lane too easily. Gives Andal a lot of freedom to roam, which he'll be much better at than the Lulu. I'm really looking at Raptor and Vikla this game. They need to get the ball rolling and set things up. Yukal, I think, did a phenomenal job of controlling the entire bot side of the map in game 1. But in this game 2, I think we should see Vikla able to do that, and I'm hoping he does. Picking Lissandra, you don't pick Lissandra to just win lane and sit in lane. That's not why you take the pick. And into a lock as well, you should have that pressure consistently. That's a good dredge line there by Andal. Takes a bit of damage in return.
Yeah. Still a lot of damage done to Kellen. Gonna force him to chug some of those pots, probably. Electrocute comes out. I mean, I was saying the Galio, we see so much Galio into lock because oftentimes the lock gets picked blind. And it's because, you know, even if Galio does get picked into you, it's like, well, I'm still going to look to gank other lanes and get ahead that way. I'm not really going to kill my lane opponent unless they make a big mistake. So, yeah, we see a lot of blind lock, a lot of Galio responses, not too much Lissandra.
Yeah, I was saying how Lissandra just doesn't offer as much damage as some other mids. One thing I will say is that something they did a while ago was they improved the consistency on her passive. So, like the thralls, follow targets in the brushes, they no longer like stand still before they detonate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if you actually get the resets from the ult, it does a ton of work in fights. Like, that cannot be ignored. So if they kill, say Andal is on the front line and they blow him up, or Willa goes too deep, that's potentially the recall. So you just explode them and then let the Frozen Thrall kind of carry you through the rest of the fight. But big ifs, big buts, and ultimately kind of depends on being KRX being in a comfortable position. Now, we do see Andal Willa trying to challenge the Raptors here, and they will be warded away.
That's Raptors.
Yeah.
You can't take... He takes your Raptors. You don't take his Raptors. That's kind of against the law.
He did name himself after them.
Yeah. For a reason. The amount of times I've seen that guy invade for Raptors is a lot. Aiming just TP'd back here. Directly in the face of Yunar Lulu, so... I'm not really sure what he expected. At least he has some potions.
Ah, yes. Locke has reached that point of the lane where he just one-shots the wave and runs away. Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool champion. Oh, you wanted to damage him while he's doing... Oh, he's got great health. You forget about that?
Yeah, he's really fast. And he can dash. So
I feel like Lissandra is really just like the typical old school archetype of what a champ is. Quite slow, you know, with the way she sets things up. She does have a really powerful ability, right? The ult is very powerful, but a lot of her kit is based around that. And then they added the newer passive, but originally her passive, wasn't it just like mana regen?
yeah,
And then
it
you
was
have-
like you autoed and get...
Then you have Lock, which is like, yeah, you CC me, I can still pop my grey health. You know, I have like 16 paragraphs in my ultimate.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's one of the things that actually makes this matchup really rough, is that if you ult Yukal, he can just pop the grey health. Like, if you don't kill him in time.
Yeah.
So...
You know, with all the League of Legends classic stuff that we've had, even Riot making that zillion commercial, I guess you would call it. It's not really a commercial, but the cinematic where it's just talking about all the passives, all the stuff he's got to write, the paragraphs. They're very self-aware about it. I think it's pretty difficult to make unique champions this late into a game's life, you know, for League of Legends, which has been around for
I mean,
a
I
long period
remember
of time.
when I first played League of Legends, which was I think like 12 to 18 years ago, I saw Lissandra and was like, hey, it's just like a Frost Mage from WoW. And I'd been playing WoW before, and I was like, well, yeah, I'll play that. It was just very simple, but I feel like you can only do so many champions that are that
Yeah.
simple.
It's difficult as you try to make more. As now Vicla's going in, and now we got a Cassante from the top lane, and Willer's just dead. First blood given over to Raptor just like that.
Big overstep there from Willer. Not even with level 6 in the Nocturne, but not really sure what the game plan was there. Hanging around mid when the Lissandra has ultimate and is that big threat is not going to reward you with a long life. You know what actually happened in that first game of Lissandra?
What
I got bodied by a Tryndamere, and I was like, oh, that's just like a warrior. I'll just play that.
Tryndamere's OP. I gotta play that champ.
Yeah. So they go for this engage on Lissandra, but you have to be so certain that you can take out Vikla because he's easily able to turn it around, and he still had the ult available. So even if you found a favorable engage, if you don't kill him, he just self-ults, buys time. I think that was a little bit ambitious from KRX, especially since Willer didn't even have his ult himself, and they do end up paying for it.
Yeah. Lissandra, like Galio, going to be going for the Imperial Mandate here. As they're going to be pulled through the wall. Frog not in the best spot, has to flash away.
Good
And
flash.
that gets him out of there.
Yeah, good flash, able to disengage. Clay doesn't chase because with the equalizer still available, Frog would have just been able to pull away. A big farm lead so far for Clay, has been doing well in the 1v1 matchup. We often see Rumbles will have pressure early against the Cassante and farm up gold with the first strike and just get a mountainous lead, but we've also seen it go the other way, and Clay doing a good job here. All in all, it's still a very even game, even with that first kill going over to B&K KRX.
Yeah. It's just good that at least they're getting some kind of snowball rolling instead of sitting back and saying, good luck, team. Now we do have Willer starting this up. There's nobody in the bot lane, so the timing of this is very good on the backs of B&K's bots.
You do have Vikla going for the Imperial Mandate, which is pretty good value for Lissandra. It wastes on your ult and your W and gives insane amount of ability haste for one item, especially one that's so cheap. And if you want to spike early, it is just a phenomenal item. That extra damage, we've seen Galio abuse it quite a bit, the damage amp. Remember we used to have it, was it Evan Shroud was a support item that had that? And then they nerfed it because it was too OP. I do think that Imperial Mandate's a bit more niche in the champions. Imagine if Imperial Mandate, instead of AP, had HP and some resists. It would just be a support's dream.
Yeah, it sounds way too strong.
Imagine Alistair with that item. No, it's not okay.
And now we just get kind of niche mids that build it.
Yeah.
Really just Galio and sometimes Lissandra. So.
I feel like I expected a lot. Oh, they're going in.
All right, we got a Nocturne in the bottom lane. Just going to throw everything at Taeum, but he just flashes away from the hook. And Ondil not able to close the gap there.
not quite able to connect, and Taeyun did a good job of immediately recognizing the threat and just getting as much distance as possible. If you're hesitating at all, you do just die there. I think it does kind of show some of the concerns we had, because Taeyun, you really have to be playing very well to avoid all these threats on your life, but he does avoid that one. It does cost him his ult and his sums. That is one other concern for Yunara, is that she's kind of fake. She has fake safety. You know, you have like Corki, who has his Valkyrie up every so often, Ezreal, who has his Arcane Shift up very, very often. If Taeyun wants a dash, it costs your ult, which then you either don't have it for a fight, or maybe didn't have it available before the barrier comes through for Taeyun to stop the interrupt. Pretty nice. Especially since aiming has TP, getting your recall interrupt there could have been pretty painful.
Yeah, I mean, we had an era, and we still kind of have an era, where everybody has a million dashes and a million ways to get over walls, into fights, out of fights,
I think
etc. The most recent champion has a lot of different ways to get in and out of fights, but I kind of like that design from Yunara, where it's like, yes, it's an 80 carry. Yes, she can be pretty fragile. If you are going to use a very strong dash, it's going to cost a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to design things, unlike Zeri. But I digress. We do see BNK KRX trying to get Taeyun some damage on this tower. They do have 3 plates as well. Looks like Locke is moving over to respond here.
They're going pretty deep for this one. Now Ondel gets in, and everything is thrown at him, but he had Aftershock up, as now everybody hit by that, and Locke just immediately dies. But it was really cool when he hit the big circle on them.
It was neat. Oh, Raptor's fishing for a kick.
Well,
he did kick him.
He did a bit of damage, I guess, and now we got a Kazante under the turret, and KRX are falling apart like a house of cards. As Frog is in here, he doesn't have his TP, and Clear is going to get away with his life as well. As Q comes in, it is 4 kills and a triple for Vikla.
I really wanted to see BNK KRX getting some early momentum in this game, and they have absolutely done that. Finding a super favorable play, and for KRX, just, I think it all stems from Andal doesn't connect on this initial engage. They're trying to set up because they know Locke is coming in. Andal ends up hitting the train. It's a nice sidestep from Taeyun, uses the ult on Taeyun, and just gets CC'd. And then this ult is massive, but the Nocturne ult isn't quite available yet. You can see it comes up now. A little bit late. There was no follow-up. And then this kick, and I was joking about it a bit, but it kicks him on a tower, gets some damage down, and sets up for this moment where Xante tanks the tower, and they can just clean up the kills. And then Willa goes back in. There's 2 thralls that explode on him to lower him down. If you have a Lissandra mid, especially Lissandra who's gotten that early spike off the mandate, this is exactly how you want to play out the game. So credit to BNK KRX for setting that up. And just getting a mammoth lead for the mid jungle.
Also, there's a reason why Wolf calls Locke a cheerleader a lot of the time, is because he'll throw in his ult and he'll only commit if they're actually getting low, right? UCal, he hits a big ult and then he tries to like run straight out of Lissandra and just dies. I mean, there's ults available. The Lulu's right there. There's 4 people stacked up. Like, yes, you hit a big ult, but you got to wait for the right timing when you're playing Locke. You can't just kind of send it. You're still a squishy mage if you don't have your W up. So, yeah, he just goes in, gets stuns, and dies. So that's just 0 value out of the Locke. They had a nice collapse coming in, but the second that UCal dies, it all falls apart.
Yep. Puts him in a really difficult position. And now with the Lee Sin Lissandra so strong, I have a lot of my concerns have just been washed away. They are very real threats in this game. And I feel like they're such bursty champions that if you get past that threshold where you can just one-shot someone in a combo, the game feels so easy to play. Dragon is up and available, would be the second for KRX. I don't think that BNK KRX are going to let them take it. That is just my hunch. That is just my impression. And it seems they are agreeing with me.
Yep, no real reason to do that. Aiming, trying to step up to Taeyun. Tries to flash, and a very nice angle here from Vikla gets the kill. And now, once again, they got that first pick as a nice kick does go down onto UCal as he is able to flash the wall. There's no ult left available, but now you've got a Yunara who's frontlining, and that's exactly where you wanted her to be. As the equalizer's nice, but they're just too far behind down a member here. I don't think that KRX really have a way into this fight. Although, Frog thinks differently, and he is going to frontline and die. I don't really have a lot of excitement for that call because that didn't make any sense.
Yeah, just oversteps into the Xante and understandably dies. A lot of flashes bit in that fight. I think the total count was 6. They're going back to try and make something happen again.
I mean, maybe they can get Vikla down, but he gets over the wall because he is Lysandra. The Wild Growth comes in and eventually execute maybe, but already Willer's down and Andal's low. So the rest of the fight going heavily in favor of BNK KRX is a triple for Taeyun already. And Yukal tries to dash in, tries to make something of this, but it's a quadra kill for Taeyun on the Yunara.
Well, I did say there's a lot of eggs in the Taeyun basket. I actually said the aiming basket, but I meant Taeyun.
Yeah.
Getting a quadra kill, 15 minutes in the game, I think that ticks every box. I think they're just golden from here on out. This play, this was pretty slick. Slick coming out from Raptor, able to redirect Yukal in. But at this point, KRX are allowed to leave. They're actually allowed to leave.
One death,
situation.
leave.
You know, the teacher was 15 minutes late. And they don't. They stick around. Clay has his Q stacked up, and it's like, okay, that's a dead rumble. And then they're like, hey, we're respawning. They've been around a while. They're a little low on resources. Let's try again. But once more, Andal gets baited in and misses the dredge line. And then here, the execute, Yukal's trying to chase it, but the Wild Growth is brilliant. No reset comes in. And even if it did, I think him chasing that far, the fight is just over. Taeyun's able to free hit. They focused all their tools on Lysandra, whose job's already done. It just kind of went from bad to worse. Oh my god! Oh my
beautiful!
Lord.
And Raptors just having fun in this game now.
That was such a sick kick. That was actually so slick, honestly, from Raptor there. Well, game 1 was good for KRX.
Well, I don't know. We've had a lot of this in the LCK where Team A crushes game 1, and then Team B crushes game 2.
Yeah.
It's not that interesting, but, you know, I suppose it means the series is kind of close, but I think it just means some of our teams are dropping the ball.
This Sonic Wave just catching him at the end of the Valkyrie and then coming in for the kick. That was a nice play from Raptor. And I think 8,000 goal lead at 17 minutes. Yeah, it's fried. It's deep fried. They're going to try and kill Claire. I hope they can for their sake.
Yeah, I think they can eventually. It's taking them a while, though, and that is K'Sante. No! Right over to his team.
I think he could have killed that. He could have killed Andal. He 100% could have killed Andal. He let him go. He's merciful. He may have died if he overstayed to kill Andal, but I just respect the fact that this game is cooked. This game is done. Like, you know how last game there was always that angle of like maybe. I don't think that angle exists here.
I mean,
well, okay, let's dial it back a bit.
We felt that way, and then Syndra got a big scatter.
I will say there is a lot of tools to kill Taeyun. Problem is, it's so early, and BNK KRX are so far ahead. Vikla has a 10-stack Medjai's, so like, he has... Look at Vikla's items, and then look at Yukal's items, and tell me they're playing the same game. You'll have to wait until the total gold drops. Yeah, look at the item comparison between these mid laners. Tell me they're playing the same game. It's like Yukal's now on Nightmare difficulty, and Vikla's playing on story mode.
Yeah.
He's just so much stronger. He just looks at someone, they're dead. And then Yukal's having to work so hard to get a reset. It's not going to happen. This game feels very over. I think BNK KRX, they need some mega mistakes for this to go wrong.
Yeah. What is the, you know, you said deep fried this game, and it is.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest deep fried thing you've ever eaten?
The weirdest deep fried thing? I don't think,
Yeah.
I feel like that's more of an American thing.
Well, yeah, that's why I was curious, because...
Have I eaten anything that's really weird deep fried? I can't think of anything weird I've eaten.
Have you been to America?
Not for a long time. Not since I was a kid.
Wow. And I guess you probably didn't have deep fried stuff when you were a kid.
I don't think so. I really don't remember that well. It was a long, long time ago.
Maybe you didn't, you just didn't know. A lot of things are deep fried there. Yeah, well, Yukal's dead. They are going to throw everything at him.
did press his gray health.
You know, we've seen some Lissandras here and there, and they just look so useless. And then we see a game like this, and we're like, oh, okay, so this is the idea.
So something I've learned about League of Legends, if you're really
Okay, just try to kill try to kill Raptor, they said. They changed their mind halfway through. As the Flash Wild Growth comes in, as Taeyun flashes into everybody, is trying to take down aiming, will not be able to do so, gets over the wall barely. But man, that was very risky positioning from everyone. Didn't end up mattering though.
They got Raptor. That was their initial goal, right? They started that fight and said, let's kill Raptor.
Yeah.
They tried. You know, Andal had the most phenomenal Bard game, game 1. And then game 2, it's been a bit of a struggle. I also think, you know, you were talking about Lissandra before. There's a lot of picks in League of Legends. A lot of picks in League of Legends that you give them a ton of gold, and man, do they look good.
Yeah.
Okay, this is pretty straightforward. So what they do is they actually CC him, and then they kill him. It's a good play.
Wait, but Raptor didn't use his CC ability.
Well, some of them did.
Oh.
Vikla did. So the ult here doesn't have the follow-up dredge line. It was really good from Taeyun to position behind the wall so he couldn't be CC'd. And then they tune on to Raptor. And they're like, we got him! We took him down! And then Aiming is like, oh man, I need a 1v1 Taeyun. And Taeyun gets a dash back over the wall. Vikla just walks up top and just like... I mean, I'm sure he used an ability. I didn't see that bit of the fight, but he could have just autoed. He could have just autoed Aiming and died at that point. I mean, that was a Seeker's Arm Guard, 20 stacks on the Medjais. Yeah, and... my mind is drawn back to the deep fried thing. I don't really know.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest thing you've had deep fried and eaten?
I mean, I was hoping you were going to have a weird one because honestly, I haven't really eaten anything weird that was deep fried.
You started the conversation and you're an American. You should really have this in the bag.
The thing is, America's really big, right? So different regions have different things.
It's just one country.
Yeah, that is true. They are going to try to kill Frog, and they will be successful. Now they're going to try to get Vikla, but he has his Zonias. So surely, eventually they can get him. No, he just flashes the lock ult, and Clear is soloing the AD carry. This game was over, feels like 22 minutes ago, but that's actually when the game started. But it has been very one-sided. UCal just on the run, but maybe they can end it here. That might be some good news. Head on over to game number 3. Looking for UCal, nice dodge on all the nails.
Okay, he gets out. It's a little win. Maintains a 0-3-0 KDA. Could be worse, as I look at some of his teammates. I mean, Vikla's just been finding these great angles where he just emerges from your own jungle.
Yeah.
And what's the recourse? You know, he just ulted, you go in him, he stasises, then he roots and flashes away. Meanwhile, Aiming is just living in absolute hell trying to fight a Cassante who just is refusing to die or take damage. Yeah, there's really not many options.
Yeah. Doesn't feel great for KRX.
2 kills and a Mountain Dragon is what KRX has been able to get this game.
Vikla doesn't necessarily have to do this, but he's going to try. And there you go. There's the kill. Now the rest of the team is here. He is going to go golden, but eventually he will die. There's a lot of stacks given over and gold to Aiming.
Yeah.
But
so
there's still 13,000 gold behind, so
you can see with Alessandra, not the most damage by herself. Even with how fed Vikla is, took quite a bit of time to take down the Rumble. Even though Vikla's very fed, I think would have been better to play with a team. Do I think that bit of gold is going to make a difference?
Oh, no.
Not at all. Maybe if they kill Vikla 7 more times, the game will be slightly close.
Yeah.
No, not really. Still be one-sided.
Yeah, they need to get a lot of the other members too.
Yeah.
Not just Vikla. But they got the stacks, so that feels good. They got those Medjai stacks off of him, but he still has 15.
Yeah, so still sitting pretty there.
Me and KRX aren't even going for the Drakes. They're like, We don't need that.
It just doesn't mean anything at this point. They have the Baron, setting up for that. It's an Ocean Soul, and they would need 3 more to get it. At this point, I think they could just end the game naturally. Like we did in the good old days. Remember that, Brendan?
Yeah.
When people just used to just siege at your tower, and the enemy team had a Ziggs or a Gragas, and the game went to like 70 minutes.
Yeah.
Why were they the good old days again?
I blame Janair.
Yeah.
Umty's actually casting today, I believe.
Yeah, he is. I saw him earlier.
He's here. I wasn't sure if he was casting or desking, but I think he's casting.
He was wearing the caster outfit.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, they sacrificed one inhibitor. Well, they already sacrificed an earlier one. I think the game's just going to end soon. And then we can talk about game 3. That's my analysis.
That's really good analysis. You know, I was thinking the same thing, so I'm glad
that being
we're
said,
on the same page.
KRX, press all your buttons on Taeyun. That is the best strategy that you can do right now. Just wait for him to step up a little bit and just go.
Yeah.
Notice he's playing next to the inhibitor, so he has terrain to block the dredge line from Andal. So if Andal ults him, dash the other side of the terrain, can't follow up.
All right. Here goes Vikla.
There's the ults.
Just gonna ult himself under the turrets. They are not really doing this cleanly, but I still don't think it matters. Nice fear comes down on a Vikla as they're really ham-fisting this one, but a wild growth on a Taeyun.
Oh, they got him.
Should be enough. And I think when you're 14k gold ahead, you can just kind of do anything and win the game. And they will do exactly that.
Okay.
Aming's
well,
like, no! I will not go down without a fight! You get your wish, Aming.
There's a fight.
Yeah. GG! We got a series on our hands.
This game was very one-sided. Credit to, I think, both Vikla and Raptor for really being the driving force in this game. They dominated. They completely dominated, and this was more reminiscent. Honestly, this was more one-sided than the games we had last week when these two teams went head-to-head. So, it's been a weird series. The fact that we have one game, KRX looked really good. The prep looks really solid. Game 2, it's like they didn't expect to make it that far because they kind of just fell apart. Game 3, you don't have nearly as much time. You had 4 days, which wasn't long. Now you have about 5 to 10 minutes to kind of reevaluate and figure things out. 7.8k damage from this lock. Not super inspiring, not super convincing.
KRX needed to get ahead, and they absolutely did. They got first blood on Raptor, and after that took a nice fight, and the game was kind of over from there. You had a Lock and a Nocturne who can never set anything up in a side lane because they got so far behind early, and KRX just didn't have any options. It felt kind of hopeless for them at a certain point. So game 3 is a new game with new champs, and that's really where you got to look, obviously, as I'm not sure who is the baby in that picture. Maybe it's Taeyun. But regardless, he played it very well in that game number 2. We'll be back, guys, after the break.
나 이거
나
갖고
로크
돼, 갖고
막아줄게.
돼.
로크 막아줄게. 로크 막아줄게.
나 셀프 썼어.
로크 막아줄게. 빨면서 빨면서.
한턴 빼, 한턴 빼.
빨면서. 이랬어 나.
아 존나 뺐어. 쌈 빠져.
라인.
쌈 좋아.
들어가 공부해줄게.
W 있죠?
나 W 되는데.
로크 E 있어, 로크 E 있어.
나 타워 밀게.
다음 밀어.
다음 밀어.
나 만화 없다 이제.
괜찮아, 괜찮아. 코르키 풀 있어. 노크, 노플. 지지. 좋은데요?
KTD Plus series we had. The first one that was last week when KT won game 1. I was like, oh wow, KT,
Yeah.
look, and then he just got demolished 2 games in a row.
I think because of what happened on Sunday, where KRX just crushed them, I'm big time favoring them in game number 3. But if they just fall apart again like they did in game 1 today, I wouldn't be surprised either, because that already happened today. And, you know, KRX are definitely capable of taking individual games. Not sure about entire series, though, based on what we've seen. It's very difficult, and
I mean, I will say that every game matters when things are this close to the standings. You'd love to get a series win, but getting a game does help if you fail at that, because it may come down to that. In the Rise group now, KRX have continued with the Cassio Ori bans. Cassio first, Ori second now, though. And it seems like Kirum DRX back to banning junglers, but there's already 4 out of the pool. So it will thin things out. And we're once again getting Kirum DRX on first pick. We've had 5 games between these two teams in the past, 5 days. And every single time it's been second pick for KRX, first pick for Kirum DRX, which I do think is pretty fun.
yeah, I mean, in terms of how they're utilizing counterpick and stuff and trying to pick bot duos, I'm not sure if we've consistently seen BNK getting massive leads in that facet, but they're going to take away the Lucian here.
Camille's been left open.
But Shen too, so at the end of the day, it's like, do you first pick Camille? Do you even first pick Shen? Do you first pick something else and take the one that's not Camille or Shen that was taken by the other side? And yeah, they're going to do that and take the Jhin.
Jhin was banned in the last game in the first rotation. And by taking Jhin, you kind of hand over the choice to KRX. Do they want to take Camille and potentially be answered? How's it going to go?
I mean, Vikla definitely a big Annie player and just played the Lissandra pretty well. And
I mean, so many of KRX's wins last year were like Annie, Morgana. It's that theme of champion.
yeah.
So I think it makes sense for Vikla. And in terms of what's pairing up with it, we know Annie Wukong's been very popular. There's been a lot of junglers banned here already. There's also Neferi available. But they are just going to start here with Shen. Picking the Shen, if you pick Camille into it, obviously Shen has been pretty favored in that matchup. Will they do it anyway? That's the question. Personally, I think playing Camille into Annie sounds like a bad time. But I guess if she's stunning you, she's not stunning someone else.
Yeah. And Poppy's still available, so looks like they do want to pick this up for Willer probably, and then you can make a decision later. They're not even going to pick a support. It could be Poppy, I suppose, and Poppy is good into Shen.
I think it makes sense. You can obviously disrupt the taunt. You can taunt flash to catch you off guard, to stop it being circumvented. But then the Jace comes through, so now they are going to go for that Neferi. They are going to commit to the mid jungle, but not picking a response for Clear in the top lane.
Yeah.
And I wonder, are you just going to ban away things like we haven't seen that many Vayne bans between these two teams, but with other teams in the LCK, a Vayne ban is very popular.
Victor ban. That's not a champ we like anymore, but it is good into Annie, so they'll ban it here.
I'm trying to think what you could play in the mid lane. There's still the Anivia. Still the Galio, honestly, I think would be okay. They are going to get rid of the Yorick for the Jace, which makes a lot of sense here. Are you going to look towards the likes of things like Vayne or Varus, like these long-range tops that you're concerned about? Do you expect Clear to play those? He did have that Tristana game. He has played that Nidalee top. Are you going to ban the Nidalee? He obviously played it last week against you. And being KRX concerned with the prospect it might be that Poppy support.
Yeah, definitely a good call. You know, just ban one jungler away. You want to get a decent lane for the Annie and go ahead and do that. They're going to ban away the Sivir.
Are we going to see Clear bring out something like the Nidalee top again? Or a range top in that sort of regard? Or just pick something melee and play that into? They're going for the Kai'Sa here. So pretty heavily committing to this dive-focused composition. Which into the likes of a Jace I think makes a lot of sense. Going to make his life uncomfortable. And that's before they've even committed a top lane matchup, which may make things even worse for him. Now, we are just going to get the Alistar, seeming like, so that Poppy will go to the jungle. Playing two sort of like bodyguards to be bouncer for your Jhin and your Jace. The question is, in the mid lane, are you going to kind of bolster that by picking something else that can kind of play Peel? Or are you going to pick something that just is a carry enough its own self? Like, you could pick Talia here. Could make a lot of sense. Instead, though, looking at Yukal's Aurora pick, he's had a lot of success on. Hard to pin down and get on top of, which is, I think, important for this comp. And also, Aurora was picked a lot into Annie when Annie was more popular. So coming through with that one. And now, finally, there's a world where you could flex Shen top lane, but I don't think you'd do it. I don't think this is a situation where it makes sense, really. So I imagine this is Clear's pick here. Is it going to be the Nidalee again, or is it going to go in a different direction?
Might just be the Vayne, and there it is. It will be locked in. So he plays AD Nidalee, now he plays Vayne. This comp, when you look at it, I don't feel like it inspires all that much joy. Like, I think the win conditions are obvious, and they didn't maybe want to commit to more dive into Alistar and Poppy. But, yeah, as a 5-man composition here for KRX, unless you're blowing up one target with tons of damage with, like, Annie and Nefiri, I don't think it's going to go very well. And it's going to be very difficult to do that into the comp of Kium. So
this feels like a very snowbally game. And we kind of saw that last game. It was quite feast or famine. This one, obviously, we see KRX with things like the Vayne, which scales very well. But considering you have this Annie Nefiri, this mid-jungle, it's a great mid-jungle pairing. It's very hard to avoid Annie CC. It's very hard to avoid Nefiri ult. Just a lot of damage available to them. But if they fall behind, I don't think you're just going to be able to rely on Vayne to carry the game. So we saw it last game. You know, I was a little concerned about KRX's composition, lacking damage, maybe lacking multiple threats, but they just steamrolled the early game and it did not matter at all. They have more threats this game. They have 2 big carries on the team, and they still have the ability to set things up early. Let's see if they can do it again.
very curious to see what happens as we are ready. Let's hop onto the rift for game number 3.
미니언들이 생성되었습니다.
Game number 3, and this one is big. If you want to make it into play-ins, you do have to stay as far ahead of Nomshim as possible, who are currently in 9th place, and also you want to get as good of a seed as possible. All these teams would like to get 6th place, but
yeah,
not
notably,
going to be easy.
You could end up in a situation where you are facing off against the 5th seed of the Legend Group. And who even knows who that's going to be right now? Based on how things have been developing there, it really could be anyone. Right now, it's looking like, you know, KT and D+ are a little behind, but things could change quickly.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you know, DK and KT did play yesterday, so they have one last game, but every other team in the Legend Group, the other 3 teams, they have 4 matches left, so definitely some room to change things up. Scallan's just going to go for the straight up taunt. Andal does not get the headbutt, and so it's a giant amount of damage, and Andal's just going to back. Yeah,
he was in a tough spot there. I think maybe Taeyun could have committed a bit more and force the flash, but doesn't want to lose too much HP himself. Just to force Andal to burn his flash, especially when he has to recall anyway. Raptor is covering for Clear here. Clear's already used the exhaust, notably. And it seems like it hasn't really bolstered his health advantage in any way. They're about even. But he has got a bit of a farm lead. I do think that this game, you talked a little bit in draft, something we say a lot is whether something inspires joy. I think the KWM-DRX comp is just that sort of composition you feel generally more comfortable with because you have this like bulky front line.
Yeah.
And a lot of range to play around with. But picks like Jhin and Jace have definitely been fickle. And KRX has a lot of ability, I think, to play through side lanes when you have the Vayne, but then also the Kai'Sa Shen. Like 2 picks that you can very much imagine punishing side laners. So I think if Frog falls behind, this game just tumbles so quickly.
Kellen's in mid. Stun comes down, so they're going to know exactly where you are. That's a lot of damage to go into UCal. And if you look at where the lanes were, Clear was pushing top and was kind of trying to zone Frog out of the wave as much as possible. Mid was winning heavily, and bot also was winning heavily because Andal had to back so early. So Raptor just got to take the Raptors. They did back off after that, but just felt like total control very early on here was going to be in KRX.
Anytime you can get a Kai'Sa into a winning lane situation, especially when she still has a pretty good pairing with Shen, it feels fantastic. I think that's one of the big reasons we haven't seen Kai'Sa as much in the meta is there's just been lanes that really make it unplayable. And as much as she's a good duelist, I think it just doesn't function the same as some of these AD carries who can just be very self-sufficient. She's got that shorter range. But KRX have set Taeyun up in a pretty good spot so far. He's got that Cole already in pocket and even in farm.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the burst damage of KRX with Annie, Nefiri, Kai'Sa, if they are proactive and set up plays in their favor, you can get some big picks, even onto tankier targets. So it definitely feels like the Kai'Sa helps out there, but shouldn't be too easy of a comp to play, I'd say, compared to just stand there and protect aiming and let them shoot from afar. Andal's over here just arguing with Kellen about something.
A bit of sport combat. So far we've seen Raptor had a good time getting some early camps, but no real input yet from the junglers. Both of these junglers kind of insane at tower dives. Poppy so good in the side lanes when you just headbutt them into the wall and you're tanky enough to absorb a few shots, and then Nefiri being able to drop aggro. Which I think when you have a game like this with junglers like this, it puts you, and especially because both mid laners are roamers, not Roamer the player.
Roamer's on bro.
Yeah, they
by the way.
Champions of Rome.
Level 6. He does get the knockback, and Frog is just going to flash away. I think that's a smart call, even though it feels real bad.
Yeah.
Just to take his little damage and not die.
Kind of the point I was trying to make was that if you mess up your lane state, they will just come in and dive you. So you have to be really cautious about that, which is why Frog was in a bit of a precarious position, but no jungler on his side of the map. Now, they both sort of showed around bot lane. KRX had this big wave they wanted to crash. We'll see if KWM-DRX just want to clear it out. Don't really... Okay, now they're holding it. I think that is a favorable position for them.
Trade of ults here. UCal burning a little bit more, it looks like, as he stood right next to Tibbers for quite a while. Got stunned up. And we had to zoom in down here, but no action going to happen. And yeah, I mean, we're just essentially farming it out. It does look like Raptor is going to look for this first Drake. We have back-to-back Ocean Souls in this series. So
can we make it
something
3?
New. We don't have to make it 3. It could be something else. You know, there are 5 other choices.
What would you like to see?
Let's get a Cloud Soul.
Yeah, I mean, Atlas is here today.
Yeah.
The rare day where both of you are here.
That's kind of strange. But Atlas taking the host spot this week. And looks like he's having a lot of fun with Huni and Wahuni.
So Clear's about to get his ult back. And still no flash for Frog, obviously. There's no exhaust either, but I feel like as soon as it's available, Clear's just looking for an angle, a window. There is some good vision from KRX on the top side of the map, so that gives a bit more security to Frog, but vision doesn't help that much if you're going to lose the 1v1. It just means that maybe Clear is a bit more hesitant about setting up the play.
Yeah.
Poppy's passing over the bot side as well. There is a couple of wards in the jungle, but not really deep, so we'll see if Willa gets spotted, and if that's a signal for Clear to immediately try and fight.
We had some... Oh, I'm going to have to hold that thought, as Kellen just going to run straight into a lack of vision. These two champs don't really do any damage. Finally, Yukal comes over, and the exhaust is there, but yeah, even just holding him down for that one long. And now Taeyun goes in. Aiming has to flash away. And so that's a nice win in the 1v1 for Taeyun.
Good play. You know, if you're left isolated and you find that Void Seek and you can find the 1v1, definitely value there for Kai'Sa. We've seen Jhin doing so well in these 1v1 scenarios bot lane. You can just get a bit of poke down and ult, but very hard to do so against Taeyun there with that shield as well. And I think also Kellen, great with the patience on the taunt there when he was caught out. If he taunted early, he might have just died, even if he bit his flash, but was able to save both summoners and make it away. Now Andal will spot Raptor.
Yeah.
Gets a ward down, doesn't do anything about it.
It's like, oh, there's a doggo on the loose up here. Not my problem. I'm just going to go top. And Clear's like, you know what? That sounds good to me. And he is going to condemn Frog away. Kellen coming over. They are going to lock down the Cal for now, but Andal flashing away. Gets enough range to get away. But all three grubs went over to Raptor.
Yep, and Andal ends up burning both summoners to get out there. Fortunately, Clear had to use his condemn early to keep himself safe, but I think if you had the condemn after the taunt, I think Andal is just dead. So 3 grubs picked up. Clear does end up burning his ult, so Frog feels a little bit better now about the 1v1. Still feels like B&K KRX getting what they want out of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, they're having a good time. And it felt like game 1 was a little bit of a fluke where they fell behind and weren't really able to come back in the game, even though Vikla had a big moment. It wasn't enough. And then game 2, I think, proved to show more of what we saw last week. And that's why I was confident about their chances coming into game 3. Now, it's Rise Group. B&K KRX are not a perfect team either. So we could absolutely see Kium run away with this one, but I'm definitely siding with B&K at the moment, even though their comp is definitely a little bit non-standard. It has pieces within it that work really well together. The Kai'Sa, the Shen, the Kai'Sa and the Annie and the Nefiri. He got Vayne in the top lane. I mean, he could have gone for 80 Nidalee or any other kind of weird side lane bully.
You know what? I'm not a huge fan of the 80 Nidalee. I feel like a lot of the time he like wins lane, but just doesn't do much else.
Most of the time it does, which is kind of what we were expecting. But then when we saw it in that series, it actually had like a global taunt for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Is it's annoying, and the enemy team wants to kill it, and they can't.
Yeah.
It's very good at doing that, which is an effective strategy. That's many of players have used over the years.
But he would like join fights, and he was relatively tanky because he went Trinity Force first, and then kind of a more like bruisery build. So he was like, he would go to the fights and they would target him, and he just jumped away and had a lot of mobility. And
Maybe the lesson is don't
target the Nidalee. Yeah.
Yeah. Cycle Sword comes in for Raptor. Big spike for the Nefiri. 30 seconds on the Dragon as well. This is a good spot for B&K KRX to fight. They have Tibbers available for Vikla, who just got... Okay, Malignant Cyclo Sword are the spikes coming through. I think KRX should just let this go.
But Yukal got a Rocket Bell.
Yeah, it doesn't quite hit so hard.
Aiming in a bit of trouble. Still doesn't have flash, and he'll be okay. But a nice chunk for Taeyun already, and that's one way you can try to make this objective even more years, is by pushing the lanes, getting priority through some effective trades. But, I mean, it looks like they want to fight for this. Kind of.
They have to get such a clean engage to make this work, I feel. Vic was waiting over the wall there on a control ward.
They're going to have a Hex Flash in as Vikla just zones them away. It's Infernal Soul this time. They are looking for the kill on a Vikla. Might be able to pick it up here as a shield comes in from the Shen and he lives to stand United. And United, they do stand. Still no kill in this game, and Clear was just top the whole time.
Bit of a disaster for Q and DRX. They don't get to touch the Dragon. They don't even get the kill onto Vikla. A lot invested to do that, and gold given over to the Vayne. Taeyun also gets plates. Everything really going right here for BNK KRX. So Vikla stops Willa from getting in with the ult, but then I think he could have just done the stun, made the call, okay, I did my job, I don't need to unleash my full combo. He overstays a bit, and nearly gets caught out as a result, flash in a straight line, but
Frog is in trouble. Flash knockback is not going to save him. First blood about 13 minutes in, this time for Clear. As the taunt was kind of funny there from Kellen. And it might mean that Vikla dies because there's no taunt anymore. The knockup comes in, and Willer picks up the kill.
Okay, so positive play for Kim DRX now. Willa might be in trouble.
They're gonna hop up, get some buff on the Nefiri. Bunch of damage into Willer, who really want to take away Raptors, but wasn't able to do so. Well, he got some of them.
There's still 2 left, which means it's still... Oh, Raptors.
Yeah.
Raptor.
They're gonna have a root. This is a very broken up fight. Kellen's in a bit of trouble. Ingo's Taeyun into 3 people, but he's got a lot of backup now. Swiller's gonna flash away, aiming a big front line, but the Condemned comes in. The root here on a Clear who doesn't have his ult, and he is just free food for the Jace to pick up a shutdown.
BNK KRX overstaying a little bit there, and KMDRX have setup, have CC, have this tanky front line. So if you leave targets isolated and alone, they will just go down to this. Now here, Exhaust comes down early, and I didn't really see the angle for the flash knockback, but I think it was just some desperation.
캐리해준다 했잖아.
He said he would take care of it, something like that.
Didn't even have to use his flash. So in this passage of play, we end up seeing Taeyun isolate and alone, so has to ult out of the Jin ult. Still has summoners though, so despite that looking a bit scary, we're still safe. Then KMDRX end up getting this root. And as soon as that happens, you have the Alistair going in, you have the Poppy who can follow up, and the Jace can just jump in and get the kill. Vayne definitely going to have a difficult time playing these fights out if the setup isn't good from BNK KRX.
Yeah, especially at this point in the game when, you know, you've got 280 carries, but they have 1 item apiece. That's not really... They don't have the ability to chew through the Alistair yet, to chew through the Poppy yet. Eventually, surely Vayne will if they find themselves in those weird fights, and the setup, as you mentioned, is going to be very important. But, you know, we had a lot of low health bars on the side of KMDRX. It's a pretty close fight, but if BNK are a little bit more fed on some of their carries, they can make quick work of that front line. So now maybe trying to collapse on a Vikla, who does not have flash. You can see it down there in the bottom left. 96 seconds on that.
Angle doesn't really arise. We are going to have a look at Clear, farming against Yukal. Herald is up and available, but Dragon's up in 1:15, and it would be 3rd for BNK KRX. So I think if you can get the Baron, if you can get the Herald and then use it to set up for the Dragon, that's great. But I think KMDRX probably just gonna stave BNK KRX off it and wait for that Dragon spawn. I think it's gonna be really important. They have better setup this time. This time they're not playing into these huge item spikes from BNK KRX that they didn't have matched themselves. But it still feels a little bit precarious.
Yeah, at the moment it's just a lot of fighting for vision control on the top side of the map right now. BNK KRX are in control here. Apparently what Clear did say was, I said I'll carry this game, guys. So not that he'd take care of it, but he's like, pick me the Vayne, I'll carry. And I mean, he got 1 kill. It is the beginning of a carry. You generally get kills when you carry. Hide on Bush and face check Bush and miss Tivers.
Well, I was going to say, KRX start up the Herald, which is a bit risky considering Dragon is spawning soon. But then Vikla misses the Tibbers, so I don't think they're as concerned.
Yeah.
And now they're looking for a play onto Yukao on the bot lane, but Aurora's very slippery. I think maybe there was a world where they could have just started the Dragon with an Fury in the Vayne. But KRX, I wasn't sure it was going to be possible to get the Herald, use it for the pressure to get the Dragon, but they've done that. So credit to them. Team will clear it out, but now you've moved into the river and gotten some good vision control. There's still that the Scuttle Crab Shrine thing available, so KRX do have an idea. Now they're going to go in.
Yeah, we got TP in here as there's the ult away of the Kai'Sa. Taeyeon can try to rejoin, but it's going to take a little while. Kellen, meanwhile, is going to get chunked, but so does Willer. So still kind of up for grabs, but KRX do have control of the Banana Brush. And that is certainly going to help out on the control. But now Clear is on the flank here. They're just going to look for Vikla, and they throw everything in the kitchen sink at him as Taeyeon tries to go in, gets blocked by Willer. But now Clear is running rampant, and they don't have any more CC. They used it all for the Annie. And they took a bunch of damage from the Tibbers and the Malignants afterwards anyway. Yukao finally comes over. There's the root onto Clear. He's in a lot of trouble, gets burst down. But, yeah, probably shouldn't have been there. It does look like BNK might get this Dragon. Should be able to. As now Regains comes in onto Taeyeon, who flashes away. Frog, he wants the kill. He wants revenge, and he will pick it up. As it's a lot of traded kills, but now it's Infernal Soul points here for KRX, and Raptor says, by the way, I'm full health.
Helen lives!
So I'm just going to take you down as well.
Ooh, and the dodge at the end. This fight was chaotic. I think there were several points in this fight where I was like, okay, you can just stop. You can just stop now.
Yeah.
Now.
Please.
Now. Well, okay, here Vikla gets the CC on a Frog. They turn onto him immediately. They commit so much to kill the Annie. The Annie already did their job. They chunked Frog. Frog is out the fight.
Yeah. Look at the Tibbers damage.
And then Clear and Taeyeon just get to come in and free hit. Now, there's a point. Okay, guys, you force them away. You can just go for the Dragon. Instead, they go for this play and aiming just pretty good setup with the root into the ult. And now it's like, okay, we need to move to help a jungler out. But the play continues. Andal dies to try and set up the play. And then Frog ends up dying to Jinnoble. It's just very messy. I can't really fault KRX for continuing this, because they were like, we need to kill them so we can contest the Dragon. They obviously lost out in the initial fight. They engaged on Annie. That is what I will fault them for. But being KRX, at the end of the day, they did get what they wanted. They got the Dragon, they got some kills, but it wasn't super clean. But they have got to Soul Point, and I think that's the main thing here. It is the Huni Baron, the big damage Baron. So he is here today as well.
It makes sense. And now they're trying to Hex Flash engage on a Fury. That's when you know things are a little bit dire. Even a little bit of a helicopter that's going to miss. So now the engage is gone from Andal. They're fighting for the Scuttle Crab. He's going to try again. Now he has some Unbreakable Will in a really awkward spot. And again, this isn't really for anything. Yes, the Baron's available, but they're not just going to do it. So that's ult down. Meanwhile, in the side lane, Clear is doing what he was designed to do.
There's also a Channel to back him up, so
yeah,
this feels so easy to play through the side. And the problem is, there's more control for being KRX around the Baron. Even if Shen ults bot and can't get back to the rest of the map, Clear will just TP over. And you're completely fine with that. If they kill Frog within a reasonable time frame, which they probably would. So it means we're really seeing the situation where KRX just don't have control of the side lane. They are looking with Willa now, but it's a Poppy, which, I mean, Poppy's great when someone CCs the Vayne, you follow up, fantastic. If she's against a wall, fantastic. Yeah. She's not. You kind of do that thing where you like, you headbutt, well, I guess it's the charge, and then you press W and you hope, you're like, please, tumble. I'm begging you.
It doesn't really feel great in the Vayne unless, as you mentioned, you're on top of the Vayne. It got value in the team fight as Vikla is running at 7 bajillion miles an hour, and now Frog is just going to try to TP away. Might just die to the burn, but he is going to TP.
That was a great read from Frog. Did not expect Annie to be traveling so fast but found the window to TP out and will survive. It is a resource burn still, but they'll get this mid lane tower. And Kellen, I don't think they're going to engage on you, but you don't really have a window to engage back. Right now, Clear is pushing top lane. And remember, it's now a minute 30 until Dragon. This would be sold for BNK KRX. I don't think they need the extra damage, but they will certainly take it.
Yeah, they can just sit back and say, okay, Clear's always going to win the side lane as long as he holds on to exhaust, and we have enough vision to keep him safe on the push, right? So they're just controlling the river and kind of just sitting here and saying, KMDRX, you have an Alistair for engage. Yes, they have a Poppy. Here's the Alistair engage, though, as that is dodged by Taeyeon. The Unbreakable Will is going to be chewed through as he's alone. Very desperate. We have a TP coming in from Clear. And now the Dragon's up in about 50 seconds, so they can continue to push and look for that play. And without an Alistair, I mean, I guess he'll respawn in time for the fight, maybe. But yeah, it just feels like total control right now for BNK KRX.
That felt a little bit overforced. And unfortunately, the root didn't connect from the Jhin. They all moved into Peel, and it just ended up backfiring. I think the thing that really hurts is you didn't even get like a major cooldown for the Kai'Sa. Like, the ult was in time, but Kellen was moving into block.
Barrier, I guess.
Yeah. These sorts of plays where you engage like a minute before an objective are nice if you can get like a flash, but I don't think the barrier is enough. And Andal has no flash. So everyone else in the game flashless, has flash apart from him who is flashless. They do have position around the jungle. It's only Raptor really warding them away, but he's going to pick up the Scuttle Crab. Oh, it is almost dead.
It's just a lot of damage into Willer, but now we do have the taunt in from Kellen. Going to set up the kill onto you, Cal, and now everybody's falling like flies. They just get cleaned up so easily by the DPS of Taeyeon and Clear.
Absolute decimation right there, and Kellen with a great play onto Yukal to stop the kill attempt on a Vikla. And now BNK KRX, do we want Dragon? Do we want Baron? Why not both? And Frog, you can have mid-wave.
Yeah.
That does not sound fair.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, they just tried to stand right in front of the Annie, and they die. As now, Frog is dead. And he doesn't take out Taeyeon either.
That was a little bit close, but you know what? Taeyeon pulled it off, found the kill. They get the Infernal Soul as well. He doesn't even get mid-wave. Well, he did pick up a wave, but he doesn't get to hang around mid. Even that's not enough. So I think for me, big standout moment was they go for the initial engage. They then get the turnaround on a Vikla, and look at Kellen's response on a Yukal. Goes for that taunt flash, Taeyeon then goes in, and then Vikla gets another stun.
Yeah.
Because Vikla was saved by Kellen. So I think that bot side trio of Vikla, Taeyeon, and Kellen really played that fight well. Set up for the team, and now there's an 8,000 gold lead, there's an Infernal Soul, there's a Baron. I think this might be it for KMDRX. Wanted revenge for the match 4 days ago. They got a game.
Yeah, it was a good game. A very one-sided game to them, but yeah, one game is not enough. We don't play best of ones here, thankfully. And yeah, I mean, they just had so much damage, and KMDRX are like, we're tanky, we can frontline here, and they just got shredded apart, like peeling an onion. Just a bunch of stuns in the front line, and a Kai'Sa with 2-3 items was enough. And now Vikla in a bit of trouble, as they are going to focus everything into him, but once again, he just drops the bear and does a bunch of damage. Unfortunately, the follow-up from the rest of his team was not there this time.
Yeah, Vikla getting into some uncomfortable positions, and that will help KMDRX a good amount, because the Baron push was causing some issue. With that now being over, means they can kind of just push out these waves and look to try and stabilize. There's a lot of pick potential from this KMDRX composition. We've seen that on display. But some of the targets definitely easier to pick than others. And Vikla walking up to get an auto on the tower, just a bit unnecessary.
Okay, looks like Willer tried to engage on a Fury. He is going to die eventually, surely, as now the Stand United comes in, and Taeyeon is running rampant. Nice CC onto him, but he's just running forward, doing tons of damage, and they don't have any way to peel for him anymore. Triple kill comes through, and no chance at a Penta, as that is the kill stolen by Clear. But still a very one-sided fight. BK FearX look to push mid.
Yeah, TP from Frog to get back to base. But I'm afraid you're probably just going to be watching your base die as BK FearX continue to push. And they actually still have a bit of the Baron left right now. So good luck, Frog.
He didn't even get the mid wave. Oh. Yeah, they're just going to press their buttons onto him. And once again, a pretty quick game for the side of BK FearX as they crush Kium eventually at the end of this 3-game series, 2-1.
And honestly, game 1 was a while ago, but it just feels like that game, they had a really big impact. Young DRX looked really on form, and then just since then, BK FearX domination. And that game 1 now feels so long ago. I think it was cool we're seeing Vikla kind of return into some of those utility picks we know he's comfortable on and do a lot of work, allowing him to set up Raptor. But this is a team effort, a good effort from all 5 members to make this one happen.
Clear had fun this game, got to play Vayne, and yeah, the 2 80 carries were better than 1 this time around. Doesn't feel like Jace is getting a lot of value for our Rise group teams. A lot of counters coming through even for them. And yeah, it just doesn't really crush the lane like some of our top laners are able to do, especially when it gets countered.
It's such a hard pick to succeed on. I think there's so many windows where you can mess it up, and if you fall behind, it can go badly. We're often blinding it as well, and then it gets countered with things like the Vayne, and there's just too many top laners right now to ban that can punish it. So it just feels like a very volatile pick. And remember, there's this series of 3 games. There was this series 4 days ago, which was 2 games. And in every single one of them, BK FearX was second pick. In every single one of them, they had the ability to counter pick. And they clearly displayed they were going to make use of it. And they did.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're in a pretty unique position in the meta right now where it feels like we're not really just picking the same stuff over and over into each other, like the same matchups. Like, of course, Fearless helps out a little bit with that, but in the past even, we used to see a lot of the same, you know, Cassante versus Rumble over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had Fearless for a while now. This is kind of what people have been hoping for the evolution to be, where there isn't as defined a strict, these are the champions who always play. Obviously, the priorities are there, and especially earlier in the draft, you're like, okay, well, this pick, this pick, this pick, they all make sense, all high prio. But teams have a lot more options for how they want to play the game, depending on their style and how the draft develops. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting, and it's cool seeing players either flounder a bit or flourish based on their champion pools. Kellen making some great plays here on the Shen. I think the bot lane of BK FearX having a good day out today. Raptor also having a pretty phenomenal series. Willer really wanted to stop him from getting that scuttle crab.
Yeah, I think he succeeds in the end.
Yeah.
They don't go for the scuttle crab. So.
We do see Willer blocking the ult from Raptor, but it just doesn't make a difference. And then he gets the reset and gets the big shield.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting that, you know, this comp for BK FearX, we talked about how it's kind of weird, you know, a little bit non-standard, a lot of just not too much frontline out of a Shen, and, you know, it's just Annie engaged and then 280 carries, but from ahead, it just looked so good into, like, that bulky frontline that just melted.
I think your target selection and coordination has to be pretty good in this composition. Easy to mess things up. And there's picks that are volatile here, if we're being honest. But I think it shows that BK FearX are willing to play these comps that maybe have a little thinner win cons, but the execution is there. The execution is convincing. And I think more than just a series win in terms of the impact on the standings, I think this brings a lot of faith in BK FearX's ability, as Taeyun does get player of the match. I mean, Game 2 was so much about him being that carry in the late game. I do think that mid-jungle did a lot of work. But Game 3, the Kai'Sa was pretty phenomenal. And he moves to tied second for POM standings, which is kind of crazy. I think, honestly, with how things were going for Taeyun earlier in the year, I don't think he or most people would have expected him to be in this position, but I think it just shows how the fates of a player can shift up.
Moves to a new roster, picks up 2 POMs right away, right after he moved to KRX, and now he's getting a bunch as well. I think he got it. Yeah, he did get it actually on Sunday, and he gets it today. Both of those against Kium. So, yeah, even his Ezreal game was good outside of the one time he got picked, but outside of that, he was kind of like the carry. And let's jump into the interview now with Deer.
Thank you very much, guys, for the handoff. This is Deer for the POM interview translation, joined by Taeyun on the side of KRX. And you guys are the first to hit 9 wins in Rise Group, which means first place is yours. How do you feel? You know, actually, if Brion wins one more match, that means that they will take our first place spot. So I need to make sure that we don't get our guards down so that we can maintain our #1 spot. And you're already at 700 POM points. You're tied for second. So how do you feel? I mean, I'm starting to greed for it now. I had no... You know, initially I didn't really care for it, but I think right now I definitely can aim for first place. And it feels amazing always getting a POM. And with today's win, you guys are on a 5 winning streak against KRX since last year. So how are you able to maintain a lead against them so well? Well, we always try to prepare well, and you know, instead of focusing on our opponent being KRX, I think we just try to do and play our game and play it well. I think that's why we continue winning. Let's take a look at game 1. So we got an Ezreal Karma versus Caitlyn Bard matchup, and it looks like the early game went your way, but it was an unfortunate loss. So what was the feedback before game 2? Based on the draft, we actually played the laning phase pretty well, but then in the end we ended up making a bit of mistakes, and then it actually went down from there. So we just talked about how, you know, we just have to focus on our job and that we would be able to win game 2. And in game 2, we were actually expecting Galio to be picked against the enemy Locke. But Lissandra was Viklo's choice, so it looks like you guys had prepared the pick, so what was the approach? Yeah, I think we definitely talked about Galio, and we actually also mentioned Lissandra prior to today, and during our practice, during our scrims, a certain team actually played Lissandra. It was actually really hard to face her, so I think that's what we actually had in mind. And so, it looks like in game 2, in 16 minutes, you guys had an 8k gold lead, dominating the game early. So what do you think got you the ultimate edge? I think it's just that we have a lot of really good shot calling with the Raptor, and he was able to sort of break everything down and give us a solid plan. So I think that's why we ended up having such a feisty game. And yeah, we got a quadra kill, so it must have been felt really good. I mean, I didn't really do much here, but I autoed and I ended up getting the quadra. And in game 3, it looks like you guys got a 2 AD carry comp, the Kai'Sa and Vayne. So can you break us down what happened here? And Vayne was actually a counter pick. So I think we just really wanted that top control. So we were actually in between picking Vayne and Nidalee, but we went with Vayne. And Kai'Sa is just something that I'm pretty confident with. So game 3 was actually pretty even. So when were you sure that you would win? So Kai'Sa, you know, just playing out with Kai'Sa, it was such a comfortable game for me. So I think in the end, it was just a smooth sailing. I don't think there was much mistakes being made in game 3. And your next opponent is CM Super, so what are your thoughts on their performance? You know, Rise Group is so competitive right now that You know, whenever we think about our opponents, I think DNS, you know, whenever we're against DNS, we are internally screaming, they're really, really good. So given that they're performing really well, I think we're just going to stay cautious. And any word for your fans? You know, we secured first place of Rise Group, and we want to make sure that we end first place and also make it up to the playoffs so that we can attend the Worlds. And that is all from Taeyun, and back to the desk. Thank you.